What was the best thing the quiet kid has said or done in class? Oh god. Went to Catholic school. Quiet kid was in a bunch of my classes and played soccer with me. He was low-key hilarious. Just very quiet and didn't like to talk in class because like a typical young dude he hated school, especially religion. Anyways, our religion teacher would always mess around with him. Keep it down quiet kid, no need to yell and cut up. Easy there QK, you're disturbing my lecture, stupid shit like that. Only the brown noses would laugh at his jokes. One day QK was kind of grumpy and the teacher was being very annoying that day. You know what QK? You never participate or provide anything to my class lectures and lessons. You think you can just idle by and count yourself a part of the group. Sounds a lot like your god and his only son you talk so much about. I laughed so hard I got detention with him. When I was in kindergarten we had a buddy system to help us make friends easily. I have always been an extrovert, so I was paired with most introverted quiet kid in my class. He barely spoke, but for some reason I liked him, and we played together often. My father got transferred to a different state that year, so I had to go as well. He was pretty sad when I told him, and when I was leaving I gave him a Chinese yuan coin that I used to play with. Story till here is what my parents told me. I have almost no memory of this except for the coin. 7 years later, I was in 6th grade and my dad had just gotten transferred to a different state again. I was short and chubby back then, and I used to get picked on by the class bullies. I expected it to be better when I moved, so I was pretty happy. When I started at my new school it was basically the same thing all over again. Just different bullies doing the same thing. We had lunch breaks out in the open, and during one such lunch break, I tripped while I was walking and bumped into one of my bullies and made him drop his lunch. You guessed it right. They were not happy. They ganged up on me and started shoving me pretty hard. Thankfully the break was over so they stopped and headed back to class. Little did I know they planned to humiliate me in class. They planned to pour water on my pants as I was entering the classroom and we are gonna spread the rumor that I had peed my pants. When I was about to enter thought someone came from inside the classroom and stood between me and the bully and took a splash of water to his side. Turns out this guy heard them talk about it and decided to act on it. The guy who got splashed was the same quiet guy from earlier. He didn't know who I was and neither did I at first. I found out later when I saw the yuan with him. He had his mom stitch it to his backpack. World is a small place indeed. I'm that quiet kid. I've told this story before but not to Reddit. I always wear this big pair of headphones. And one day I was just letting YouTube autoplay music. It turned to Pumped Up Kicks. I don't listen to the song, but the autoplay had gone to Stranger Places. I decided I didn't want to listen and tried to grab my phone out of my pocket to change it. The cord snagged and was ripped out as the phone fell. For whatever reason the song played out loud now, as it does sometimes. But it stopped after 2 seconds. I grabbed the phone and everyone was now staring at me. I, the quiet girl wearing mostly black including a hoodie and headphones, was listening to Pumped Up Kicks in their eyes. People were real friendly for a few days after, and I didn't realize why for some time. My mum was once a quiet kid, and one day she was eating her chips and someone reached over to steal a chip and she, without hesitation, stabbed the fork straight into their hand. Let's just say no one tried to steal food from her since. Even from this day I do not dare steal my mother's food. This kid placed everyone's tests on our teacher's candle when he put them on her desk. The noises he was making, I'll never forget. Sounded like E.T. haha. As the quiet kid, I'd go into this one class and close my eyes and just listen to everything. I didn't need to take notes because everything in the class was primary source documents. The professor had had me in several of his classes before and knew how I operated. There was a lull in the class one morning and this dude Ebro goofball tries to be slick and says, "Hey professor, that Pat is sleeping." Professor says, "Oh no, he's wide awake and he's listening to every single word any of you have been saying." I slowly turned my head to look at the guy, opened my eyes, and nodded once, then right back to dormant mode. I was the quiet kid. A teacher on call was in class and was not good at getting everyone's attention. There was a lot of shushing and time wasted on motivating people. I was tired. He walked around saying, "I can't hear silence. I can't hear silence." So in a monotone for which I was famous, I said, to no one in particular, "You can't hear silence. Silence is the absence of sound." The person next to me who heard me lost it. I was the quiet girl. In politics class one day, we stumbled into a debate on gun control, and I spoke up and said the only reason I sit back here in this corner is because if there's a school shooting, the rest of you are my meat shield. I'm pretty sure I'm on a list now. Farted so goddamn loud. I swear to God the room was shaking. Now years later, we are close friends. Reminds. One day I ate 2 avocados. The fart I made an hour later was so powerful, I swear I hovered for a second. I hope this doesn't get buried, because it's so ducking funny. This happened in 7th grade science class and I'll never forget it. This one guy was quiet and super nerdy since kindergarten. So quiet he never got picked on or anything. He was basically invisible. Good kid though. So my science teacher is asking us got some disease that spread through the South America in the 50s. This kid who never said a word to anybody in 7 years just calmly calls out the KKK. The whole class including the teacher absolutely lost our shit laughing my butt off. First word this dude says it's a killer perfect timing joke and he nailed it. This kid we all thought was a potential school shooter got up in the middle of a class lecture, walked to the front of the classroom, busted ass so hard he probably shit himself, and said the word duck, and walked out of the classroom. Super strange behavior, but God almighty I almost pissed myself at that. What made it even better was the teacher started rallying her other comrades to come get that kid as he ran down the hallway. I'll never forget what my teacher said. "Oh my God." Leans out of door frantically, screams across the hallway, "Mr. Shira, help me get him." Both teachers chase said kid. 2 seconds later a group of a bunch of different teachers ran after the same kid. He flipped over a table and ran away. They couldn't find him for 3 hours. One time the quiet kid of our class ripped a loud fart and left the room crying. It wasn't in class, but we were playing game where you write down an answer to a prompt and people need to match you. This quiet kid wrote ball cutters to a prompt like "what's the worst way to die" or something. So we all assumed it this dirty, messed up guy in the group. We went one by one trying to figure it out until there was one guy left. This one kid always has his head down and nobody has ever heard him speak. Never once. One day, a student in homeroom was absent and my teacher said, "Does anyone know where Ben is?" And nobody replied. The quiet kid raised his head and quietly said, "Oh, you didn't hear." And that's all he has ever said. The class absolutely lost it laughing, and even the teacher started to laugh. I went to a private Christian school that was moderately to extremely conservative. We had modesty dress codes and everything. The quiet girl in our class was much beloved for being very obedient and followed every rule. She kept to herself and took a bit of teasing in our class of 12 for never having anything to add. She would laugh and make no comment in these moments. Anyways, we are in world religions class and the instructor asks her a direct question. She doesn't respond. Now usually, teachers would usually play along with the joke and let her off the hook. For whatever reason, this teacher kept pushing her for an answer. Finally, she jumps up from her desk and says, "Duck you. If I thought you were worth an answer, I would have given one." She storms out of the class with her book bag, leaving all of the good Christian kids agape and totally scandalized. I raised my fist in the air and cheered, landing myself my favorite suspension. I now understand what was behind her shy laughter. It was total and complete contempt for all of us, and we deserved it. Girl comes in class bawling. Friends, "Oh my God, what happened?" Girl, "My boyfriend broke up with me." Quiet kid, "You'll get over it. Here's the third one this month." When I was 11 or 12, I was the quiet kid in my school. It was a new school, and I got bullied for my teeth. I couldn't wear braces yet, and my teeth were a mess. It were usually the same two kids who yelled at me and stuff. And one day I got tired of it. One of our teachers was sick. So instead of class, we got to play on the playground for an hour until the next class would start. Those kids were yelling at me again. And I'd had enough. So I let him yell. Went over to his backpack. Picked it up. And threw his backpack in the trash. There was a boy in our class who didn't talk much, and if he did, he was always quiet and calm, often seeming as if he was going to fall asleep at any moment, no matter the circumstance. Then we had to read a text with different roles assigned in English class, and the teacher gave him the role of a cyclist that nearly got run over by a car. He had a single line. Everyone did their part more or less okay-ish, just reading it without much emotion. Then it's his turn and all of a sudden, he just draws, "You stupid idiot," really passionately and in character. He managed to startle the whole class with it, but it was quite epic. We were definitely all awake afterwards. Not a classroom, but a similar situation. We had Billy, a kid with Down syndrome. He was 3 years younger than me, and I coached him at the local baseball park. We had a program where the travel team guys coached and helped with the special league kids on Sundays when we could. Well, one day we are playing our travel game at another park and Billy and his family came to watch the tournament and support us. It was between innings and Billy was over by our dugout saying hey to the guys he knows. One of the local kids from the opposing park's team was walking by and says something along the lines of ducking retard. We'd been there the whole weekend, so I don't know the backstory there, but we were also south of Atlanta, so this wasn't exactly unexpected behavior. Unfortunately, we had this game in hand, so in a no pressure situation we brought him into the dugout to hang with the dudes. After this Ashat showed his true colors. We won handily, and after games you typically go to the outfield or somewhere, and the coach talks to you. Win or lose, Billy gets invited by coach. Coach is going over the game, where we need to improve, where we excelled, etc. When you win, somebody gets the game ball. He gave it to Billy and everyone erupted into cheers. We chased him off the field towards the families. We exit the dugout and Billy pulls coach's sleeve and tells him he has something to say to folks, so coach gets the crowd together. When I say crowd, baseball and football in the South draw a lot of people at any level. At this point the story about the asshole kid had made it through the stands. It's Little League. The stands and the dugouts are attached so people heard. Billy proceeds to hold up his game ball and endearingly tell coach he's so happy and thanks him repeatedly, while still holding up his game ball at the top of his lungs. Yells pretty good for a ducking retard. I don't think I've heard people pause and then burst into gut-wrenching laughter in such harmony. It was a beautiful moment that still gets talked about years later. Soft-spoken girl I only knew a little in high school choir class. Her senior year, she sang a solo of a song she'd written. It was phenomenal. At least high school me thought so. It's been 14 years, and it gets stuck in my head sometimes, except all I remember now is open, unfold. I'm better off not knowing, or so I'm told, which I think was like the chorus or a repeating bridge. In any case, if you think having a song stuck in your head is annoying, trying having a song that you only remember one line from, and that you'll never ever be able to listen to again, to find out the rest. Because some girl from high school wrote it, and you don't even remember her name. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.